Welcome back to WSAV News 3 today at 11. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, some 650,000 people in this country return to their communities from prison each year. About half of them will go back within a few years due to barriers to employment, housing, and education. Next month, Deep Center will host a forum aimed at building stability and finding success after incarceration. Joining us today are Austin Rojas, the Justice Impacted Community Organizer for Deep Center, and Dr. Danielle Pilgrim, the organization's Director of Public Policy and Communications. Thank you both for being here today for this very important and critical discussion. Before we get to the topic of what you're doing in July, let's go back and refresh our memories about Deep Center, how you started.
Yeah.
Grassroots organization that has now grown to branch out to do other things.
Yes. So we started off as an organization focused on literacy, helping empower youth to grow in the space of learning and increasing literacy rates. And that has expanded now to, in addition to focusing on literacy, helping youth to evolve as learners, as leaders, and as agents of change. And we do that through a host of programming, focus on creative writing, as well as spoken word, as well as leadership opportunities.
So now you've branched out, you've evolved.
We have
since
evolved.
2008. So much so that the entire community is involved, and you want to create a better place and space for every individual.
Yes, because we realized in 2018 that youth, they were sharing that the things in their lives was affecting their quality of life. And so we noticed that we couldn't just focus on education and their school experience, but to have a holistic way of addressing the issues that they were facing. And so that's why we branched out to other areas of civic engagement and advocating so that they can have more opportunities for themselves as well as their families.
How did you get involved in the Reform Project, the Reentry program? How did that come about?
Well, part of that came about because actually studies show that students who exemplify behavioral issues oftentimes, and who are referred to the justice system, oftentimes they have an immediate family member in prison. So it's connected, right? And so we realized that if we wanted to help encourage and create stable communities and stable lives, we have to address the reentry reform so that students who have families in the system who are coming out have a stronger footing to be able to provide for their families and their children.
Yeah, I think it's challenging for a student in school to focus fully on school if they know that they have a family member who they're not able to speak to every day, or to bring, their homework to, because that person is maybe incarcerated or has to work so long or so hard because they have a past conviction on their record.
Yeah.
July 14th, you're inviting the community to come together to take part in a crucial conversation. Tell us what's at stake before we talk about what will happen.
Yeah, so for our justice impacted community, and those are folks who are formerly incarcerated, who have a conviction on their record, and more broadly also the household around them. For our justice impacted community, this is there are really urgent crises in this community. Folks who are formerly incarcerated are unemployed at 5 times the rate of the general population. They're 10 times more likely to be homeless. And they are also, when they are employed, making barely half what the general population makes. So all these issues create, compound on one another to create a real economic and civic crisis for this segment of our population, which includes a lot more people than we might think. It's about 1/3 to 40% of Georgians fit into this community. That's about 4.6 million people. That's about one person in every house in this county that this affects.
Now we know that the impact on Black and Latino communities has been particularly destructive.
Yes.
Yeah, they're impacted at disproportionate rates, and even though we see rates of mass incarceration declining, we know that it still disproportionately impacts these communities. And what can happen is, even through the best intentions, when we discriminate on the basis of a conviction record, we incidentally discriminate on the basis of race or nationality or ethnicity.
Yeah.
So you're working in partnership with community organizations under the Justice Reform Partnership Southeast chapter.
Yeah.
Tell us about the organization.
Sure, the Justice Reform Partnership, it's a statewide coalition, and in Chatham County, we have a local chapter with organizations who focus on justice-impacted individuals, like Dismissed Charities, like the Reentry Coordinator for the state, and some others that I'm failing to mention right now. And we work together to provide more resources and support for our justice-impacted individuals to help them better reintegrate into society and to find ways we can empower justice-impacted people to advocate for themselves.
Now we're taking a look at some pictures.
Yes.
I would assume of former meetings that you've had or former sessions that you had. You are asking people who've been formerly incarcerated, you're asking people to share their stories and create a dialogue with people in the community to break down those barriers.
Yes, break down the barriers and stigma.
Right, so yeah, the town hall is an opportunity where people can hear the stories of success, challenges, and barriers and aspirations of justice-impacted people in our community. And we hope that attendees, they'll hear these stories and it'll inspire them to think about their position, the influence they have in their votes, and how they can use those to expand opportunities, while also changing that narrative, breaking down that stigma and stereotype that comes with being justice-impacted.
And we were talking during the break, what happens after the meeting, though? I mean, what tangible change are you hoping to see?
Well, several. One of them is that our leaders, our elected officials, will create more systems, more policies that expands opportunities, especially for as it pertains to employment, right? There are several best practices that businesses can create to hire more systems impacted individuals. We hope that voters will vote with systems impacted people in mind, because many of our justice impacted individuals cannot vote for themselves, right? So voting for individuals who can make a change, who can expand opportunities will be helpful. And then our city officials, there are many practices that can help expand transportation, expand employment, housing opportunities. And so we want this conversation that we have on July 14th to spark curiosity, to change the narrative, but also to create tangible changes in the areas of employment, transportation, and housing for our systems impacted individuals.
And the fact that it's not just an African proverb that it takes a village, it really does take everyone to create change.
It does.
Absolutely.
It does.
Absolutely. And that's part of the goal of this event, is inviting that entire village to this event, right? Not just one group, not just another, let's bring everybody there. We want to have elected officials from all branches and all levels of government, community members, those business leaders, bringing them into the room so that they can get a fuller picture of who justice impacted people are, right? So they can see and put a face, to the name justice impacted, and understand that these are real people with real hopes and dreams, goals, who have taken accountability and just want that fair chance to take the next step forward.
All right. Austin Rojas, Dr. Danielle Pilgrim, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Here's the information on your screen. Deep Center and community partners will host the Reentry Reform Town Hall Tuesday, July 14th from 11:30 a.m. until 1 p.m. at St. Philip AME Church in the lower auditorium that's located at 613 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. You can find more information and see this interview again anytime by visiting our website, wsav.com/community corner. Right now it's time for a look at our forecast. Alyssa, good morning.